official. It's official. I got my show. Okay. I've been getting money since the 80s. Hold on. Go ahead, man. Stop playing, man. They gave you a show, man, for real. Yeah, man. It's official. Oh, why? You want me to do what? I'm gonna let little study know. Yeah, what's good, CEO? What's up, man? That's what's good. Pass the word that he got the show, man. Oh, you lying, man. What? You mean to tell me that you don't got a show? And if you don't need to be on the show, you gonna pass it? What? Man, that's gonna be some more money. Alright, I'll do it. I'll pass the word, man. Just give me that little. I know my show will make you feel some type of way. Check out my show, man. Don't tell Master I'm gonna be on the show. You know the K.Kinte Show. Don't tell Master I'm gonna be on it. Let's go, Master.
Welcome to the K.Kinte Show. I'm your host, K.Kinte, the college comedian. How y'all doing out there on this snowy night? You know it's gonna snow the whole weekend, so y'all make sure y'all drive safe out there. Different things, but you know I got a powerful guest in the building with me, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling y'all, powerful. You know what I'm saying? I got Mr. Chris Dorsey is in the building with me, man. I mean, thank you for just coming through.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks. Glad to be back.
Oh man, you actually was here like I want to say on my second season.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, and we was talking about that Occupy the Hood thing. That's how we met actually. Mm-hmm. You know, so explain to the city of Richmond for the people that don't know. Explain to the people what it is you actually do out here.
Well, that's a lot. Every individual out there has so many elements of their life, their living gift from God, the Creator. And so basically what I do is I live as a lawful man, and I do so in the context of my vocation would be comparing the way how the natural order should work, I should say, and how it works in real time with our so-called government. So basically, I tell everyone that we, all the living things, are creations of God, which is all things that are creation and creator, and that God creates man, and man creates government, and man, which is male and female, because I start from the beginning.
And then when you say man creates government, explain to the viewers out there what you mean by that, though. I mean, it is simple to get, but
I'll elucidate it a little more. I'll expand on that a little more, because that's a great point, because you have to get specific, because it's very, very simple. This chair was made by man.
Yeah.
So before the show, we decided to switch the chairs. You said, "Hey, I think this will look better if we have this stage it like this," and I think for this particular reason. But you don't have to explain that to the chair, because you're a man, and when I say man, I'm talking about in the beginning, in the book, the law book. It's the Bible. The law book is the basis of the law of the land, the Constitution for the United States. That's
based off the Bible, basically.
It is exclusively based off the Bible. It's based in a large part on the writings of an English philosopher named John Locke. So, and his form of interpreting government, as was the case with all of his contemporaries, was the Bible as the basis of the law of the land. And in the Bible it says God created man in Genesis. God created man in his image. And when he says man, it explicitly says male and female. So when I say man, I don't mean the male gender. I mean man like the history of man or like man in the biblical sense.
Human, like human.
Human in every sense of that word, because there's a lot of esoteric and hidden meanings to the word human, but it's all in the language. And so God created man, and man created government, and man can never be subject to his creation. But in fact, in reality today, we are all subjects to the government. In reality, I'm not a subset in that contract. I don't agree to it. I wish to see all millionaires and billionaires and government officials arrested for their treason because they're engaged in war against the people. But in reality, nobody could debate the fact that we are debt slaves and actual modern day slaves.
I agree. To
the government, and that this is in violation of the law of nature, because man can never be subject to his creation, and it's a violation of the law of the land that all the criminals in the government, from City Hall in Richmond to the state legislator to the governor's mansion to every bar association attorney and every judge and every government official in every capacity, they are guilty of treason and they're engaged in war against the people. And what I do is I basically shine a light on the writing that is on the wall for everyone to see. You know, this is plain as day. It seems to me like this is something that everyone should do, but through mind control operations and
speaking on that, we're gonna hold that thought.
Okay.
Because I know you about to get ready. I know you about to get ready. About to get ready to get into it. Turn your TVs up. I'm telling you, turn them up. But we'll go into this video right now, ladies and gentlemen. Then we're gonna come back with Mr. Chris Dorsey.
Yeah.
He can get into it.
There are some people in the world that will never support you because they're afraid of what you might become. They see your potential. They see your outcome before it happens. They know you great.
They smile in your face. Whole time they want to take your place. Wish bad luck on you. Throw third on your name. Hate me now like Diddy and Nas. I'm born a king like K.Kinte. They throwing rocks at the castle, but I can't even knock it. Like gold I'm shining, like diamonds I'm shining. They got the hate, so I just school them and give them assignments. I don't understand how you got so much time on your hands running this campaign. I hope you make you some bands. All I ever did was show love, so I don't understand. Try to give them a piece of food and they bite off your hand.
Man, I'm in the building with my man, Mr. Chris Dorsey. Now, you know, Chris, you the commander of the Virginia militia. Now, explain to the people out there what the Virginia militia is, though.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question, because the militia is the basis of the law. The basis of the law. And I'm going to read from Virginia Constitution.
Oh man,
Article 1
is Constitution rights and everything.
Article 1, Section 13 of Virginia Constitution, the law of the land. Whereas a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people, trained to arms, is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state, that standing armies in time of peace should be avoided as dangerous to liberty, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. So that's the basis of the law. It's a very simple concept. To paraphrase Mao, all political power comes at the barrel of a gun. And basically, we are inundated with weapons that can destroy the planet many times over. Destroy us. I mean, I don't have any problem with any Iraqis, Afghanis, North Koreans. But we are, engaged in not just war against the people here domestically. The government that we are enslaved to engages in war all across the world, and unfortunately, or I guess fortunately in our case, that we can lawfully do something about this, that flies in the face of the basis of the government. in layman's terms, just to put it as simple as possible, the Constitution says that the body of the people trained to arms, and when they say what's the body of the people, it's the entire body of the people except for public officials. So that's anyone who works for the government. And the purpose for that is so that the people never fall under the yoke of a tyrannical government. And so look at the police and how they are, just murdering people in jails and on the streets, in Richmond. I mean, last week, some Richmond cop shot a 14-year-old in Chesterfield County over a Xbox or PlayStation or whatever it was, but it was a Richmond cop shooting a 14-year-old. I mean, and this is happening. I don't like to just mention one case because it's happening thousands and thousands of times. And if folks get caught up in just one case, they lose the fact that this is a standard operating procedure, warfare against the people.
Let's talk about that mind control, though, because that falls in with, explain like that mind control, that military mind control, or what's going on, what people really don't understand about what mind control is, though.
I mean, we see it's omnipresent, okay? That everything is a military mind control operation. Everything from everything that you see on Comcast, everything that you see in Hollywood, everything you see on the news.
Hold on. So this show is military mind control?
Well, this is a glitch. This is a glitch in their operation. Or there are different actors on different stages, with different agendas. But our agenda is clear that the people must be in control of all levers of power in the government. Yeah, and getting back to mind control.
But sometimes people understand that, but people what could they, they probably out there what could we do about it, though? That's the thing, too. I mean, because it's several solutions, but it's never been action.
Okay.
So, but always it's been action, it always got shut down.
Well, that's part of these military mind control.
I always had a theory, though, too, myself, Chris. This was my theory. Yeah. And everybody just don't work. No, I'm just saying, just don't go to your job for, I say, a couple of months or something. Just don't work. Everybody in the world, not just black, white, everybody, all humans, don't work. Yeah. So what could they do then? How could they enslave us if we don't work? So that means they got to answer to the people. I'm just saying that.
I think that's part of it.
Because just like you said, the modern day slavery thing, we working so much all the time. That's all we're debt slaves.
Mm-hmm. We're employed all the time because that's another thing. My body is always working. It's always working. I'm always working on something. My heart is working. My brain is working. But we're involved in employment. And break down that word. Ploy? What's a ploy? It's not good. I don't want to be involved in any ploys. You're employed. So you're not even involved in your own ploy. You're involved in somebody else's ploy. And in my new book called The Militia Handbook, which is available now, go to chris-dorsey.com and you can get The Militia Handbook. We lay out all the problems and all the solutions, and it's very simple.
Tell them where they can get that book at again.
You came out with it. The Militia Handbook. You can go to blurb.com. Hopefully in a day or two we'll have it up on Amazon.com. That's we call out Amazon as a criminal operation of the international Jewish organized crime network that controls all the governments of the world through their control of the Bank for International Settlements and all the central banks of the world. But getting back to it, you go to blurb.com at this point, or just type into your computer The Militia Handbook, and it'll take you right there. Or like I said, chris-dorsey.com, and you can order it there. It's the problems and the solutions, and we take it from a rational standpoint. We talk about military mind control. We can get back into that. Mm-hmm. These mass shootings, They're all staged by the government. In some cases, people die. In some cases, no one dies. But who is carrying this out? Always, it's the Department of Homeland Security, it's the FBI, it's local law enforcement, which can never be separated from the FBI, DIA, which is Defense Intelligence Agency, CIA, NSA, they're all the same. And this goes for all the countries of the world, because that's another little psychological military operation they have, is all the governments of the world, all the militaries of the world, they're all working in concert together. And they're forwarding an agenda of what? What's the world government apparatus? The United Nations. UN Agenda 21, which is to depopulate everyone. It is to carry out asymmetrical warfare, which is, done through such things as spraying poison out of the sky, or
the chemtrails.
Chemtrails, right? Yeah. Chemtrails, geoengineering, etc. Whatever you wish to call it, it's not something that is good for human beings or life on the planet in general, but it is good for this military agenda. So, this is nothing new. If folks can't see a lot of this stuff, as I've said before, we're just shining a light on the writing on the wall. I'm not a genius. This is just, it's obvious. You can't not see it.
But some people can see it, but some people are like, oh man, we can't do nothing about it, man. So,
Well,
that's how some people look at it, though. The
certainly. Certainly, and that's certainly a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because that sounds like more like a cop-out. Because you mentioned, hey, just don't show up to work. What do what's everybody?
But when I mention that, it can't be just me and you. No. Or it can't just be three people.
Certainly.
That's not going to work.
They love to compartmentalize and set little honey traps for everyone.
And see, the thing about human beings, what we haven't learned is unity. We haven't learned that. Like, I'm just being honest. As human beings, we haven't learned. So that's what the government actually knows.
Right, it's a divide and conquer.
That's the divide and conquer to use to the advantage anyway.
so here's a way to combat that.
And speaking of that, because I know we about to get deep, but we about to go into this video from you that this was my first time actually interviewing you.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Many years ago.
That
was at Occupy Richmond.
Actually, it was up on the Federals. I think it was the federal capital.
I think we were in front of the Federal Reserve Bank in Canal Plaza, and this was at Occupy Richmond, if I'm not mistaken, but it might be a different venue.
Yeah, because you was going hard, Chris. I said, Chris, I said, damn, Chris is just banging on him by himself. Chris don't care. So, let's go into this video from my man, Mr. Chris Dorsey.
There's powers in symbols that we have ancient symbols, and just by glancing upon them, they have a power over us.
It's kind of hypnotize us, basically.
Exactly, it's a hypnotic spell.
Yes.
Lots of things are hypnotic spell. That's why when we write out a word, it's called spelling. It doesn't say U.S. dollar on any of our money because it's not a U.S. dollar. It's a Federal Reserve note from a private international banking cartel that's owned by international banking families that have not changed over the years. The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers.
Under the law, this document, and also the Virginia Constitution, it says in redundancy, all power is vested and derived from the people. The thing is that people can grow their own medicine and their own food. Nobody can stop somebody lawfully from smoking cannabis now. And when I'm
Welcome back to the K.Kinte Show. That was some clips from my man, Mr. Chris Dorsey, from the first time I interviewed him to when he was on season 2 of the K.Kinte Show. He was bringing it, man. So, I appreciate, you coming back on and explaining a lot of information, what's going on out there in the world that people need to know.
Yeah.
And like you just said on that old clip, because we was just talking, we was like, damn, it's the same shit still going on. Ain't nothing changed.
Exactly.
It seemed like it was a minute ago, but we still right back at the same place.
Well, it all comes back to, in this society, money, right? That's what we were talking about. We were down in front of the Federal Reserve. I mean, and it's all symbols, because like, it's not even words, it's symbols that run everything. And in our background, in that first shot was that pyramid. And I was talking about how, oh, this is a Federal Reserve note, which is a private central bank that controls everything that the government does. So we're standing there, and we have the symbols, which are the powerful symbols used by our enemies to get us to comply with their system, and that is the pyramid that is in Kanawha Plaza, right at the base of the Richmond Federal Reserve Bank.
That was the Occupy movement days. Right?
That was Occupy Richmond. We were just talking about that. Talk about military operations and mind control. That was the whole Occupy movement. As you stated, where did that movement go? The purpose of that movement was to be a honeypot, to gather folks who all really wanted to do something, except for the ones that were directing it. They wanted to just drive it into the ground, and to put them on a list, to drive them away from having any sort of, involvement in reforming government. But you see, the thing is, the government can't be reformed. It must be abolished. I'm an abolitionist in the most truest sense of the word. We do need an abolition movement, and this is also in the law, because I think that at least you and I, and I'll put it out there to everyone, any rational individual, any rational people out there, they have to admit that the government is at war with the people. I'm sure we'll get into much more about the specifics as we go on, and that we are all slaves. Your boss is your enemy. No matter what you do at your work,
No, say it because they ain't believe me when I said we were still slaves. I've been saying that. I was saying that for years. And when you seen the skit, you was laughing at the skit. You was like, yeah, when you was running around like a slave, and I had the Constitution. Like people, they weren't feeling me when I was saying it though. But I was just saying it in a joke.
Let's get into this, because I think people have the wrong idea also about historical slavery. Mm-hmm. There were black slave owners during up until 1865.
Hey, I said that. We said that. We started years ago. Yeah, there were. And you're not lying about it. You're not lying about that.
And a high percentage. So this is like.
Like far as what's going on with the Libya slave trade right now. Speaking of slave trade, we can talk about that.
Okay, well let's talk about how
ties with. And I don't mean to cut you off, because I know we can go. I'm going to let you go, though, Chris, but I'm going to talk about this a little bit far as what happened with that last administration, with the fars with doing what Muammar Gaddafi and the situation. Explain that.
Well, basically, as we can see yesterday, I mean, the big news yesterday was Donald Trump, another Chabad Lubavitch, organized criminal, front for the Jewish mob, you said that we're going to move this embassy to Jerusalem. Wasn't that the big news yesterday? Mm. So when you talk about Libya, you're talking about the Greater Israel Project, and you'll see that Barack Obama, aka Barry Soetoro, was just as big of a puppet of the international Jewish movement and the so-called Zionist state of Israel as every other president that there ever was. So their goal was to take out Muammar Gaddafi. I don't think that anybody who reaches that point of power that Muammar Gaddafi did is necessarily a good individual acting based on the law of God and in nature, but there was a lot with the fact that he was kind of independent.
He had his own goal.
He had his own goal. How else can you get independent?
Yeah.
And they wanted an African dinar, and they wanted to challenge this Rothschild Zionist run organized crime network. When you talk about folks like Henry Kissinger or Jacob Rothschild, or anybody that is in any position of power, they shouldn't be misrepresented as being statesmen or even politicians. They are mobsters, they're gangsters, and they're not even brave enough to admit that they are, because then others would say, hey, oh, is that the game? Okay, well, we can play that game too.
Now, speaking of that too, Chris, I got another video that I put together, what you was talking about as far as with agents and different things, you know what I'm saying? So, we will go into this other video I put together for my man, Chris Dorsey. Check this one out, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey guys, the government is criminal, so why don't you protest an actual live government agency instead of yelling at an inanimate object? To heck with the government? Well, then why are you working for them out here?
What?
Those are all government agents. That Christopher Goad, he's a well-known government informant.
They have to work today anyway.
I'm saying you guys work for the government, so nice distraction. You work for the government. If you don't know you work for the government, I mean, you're really dumb, but those are government agents right there, and you're surrounded by the police. Over nothing. If you don't like the government, you're serving them right now.
I don't understand the problem, though.
Well, that's fine.
Well, I want to try to get both sides of the spectrum.
It's not a both side thing. This is a government operation. This is a race war psyop, and you're out here working for the government and surrounded by they're paid individuals. Chris Goad is a well-known government informant. So are you a government informant? Then why are you working for the government out here? Who said I didn't like them? I'm just telling you who they are. I'm telling you who they are. Well, that's because that's what they are. That's what K.C. Goad or Christopher Goad or Goad Gatsby, that's what they are. They work for the government. Why else would you be able to stand out here in the middle of the day acting drunk and yelling at an inanimate object? That's not really something that's... Who are you, man?
How did you spell your last name?
Who are you?
How did you spell your last name?
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm Jacob. All right.
Okay, great.
How you doing?
Now first and last name again?
Jacob Gartner. Gartner.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
I just know.
So who's that guy? You walked over with him.
I don't know any of these people, except for the people that I came with.
Okay.
I just heard this was a Facebook event. I was like, you know what? Why not show up?
I mean,
so I think.
Okay, that's fine.
Opposition.
I'm not in opposition to anything.
Are you sure? Because you keep calling them idiots.
Did I call him? This is on video.
You did. I heard you. I was even over there.
Well, how many times did I call them government? Them. Christopher Goad, the guy who's leading this.
Right.
He is a government informant.
Okay.
If you guys have been duped by them and no one else is in on it, you're all pretty stupid.
Well,
but in any event, it's regardless because you're operating under a government agent out here yelling at an inanimate object while there's a criminal government that put on this event. The police, do you ever wonder why you're surrounded by the police all the time? Okay, there you go.
Okay, so what can you tell me that they can't?
Do your own research, buddy. The government's criminal. Do you know how money works?
I got that.
Do you know how money works?
I still don't understand what you can't tell.
I'm asking you a question. Why are you so evasive? You're asking me questions. You're approaching me.
I just said
Do you know how money works?
No, I just said that. That's what
Okay, there's a Federal Reserve Bank downtown that controls everything that the government does. It's privately owned. And it's controlled by something called the Bank for International Settlements, which controls all the private central banks of the world, which pays all these government agents in the United States and in Russia and China and Germany and England, throughout the world. And that's something that enslaves all people right now. Everybody is a debt slave right now. So why is everybody yelling at an inanimate object that has absolutely nothing to do when actually you're being enslaved by real people and real institutions that exist right now?
I feel like it's just a start.
No. I asked you a question and you gave, if that's your answer, that's a really bad answer.
I mean, I guess.
Okay. God bless.
I have nothing else to gotta start somewhere.
No, but what I'm telling you is you can march down to the Federal Reserve Bank right now and do something. Hey, Google my name. I've done it countless numbers of times. So, I mean, what's the point? You guys aren't even yelling. That guy is, but that guy is like just.
That guy was yelling.
Right. Well, who is that guy? How come you come someplace? Do you think that the police and government aren't going to infiltrate all of these groups?
Probably not.
You don't think they'll infiltrate these groups? Yeah. So that guy is really acting absurd. But guess what?
Oh man, welcome back to the K.Kinte Show. Man, y'all see that, ladies and gentlemen? I'm tripping, man, because you know the black, the black guy actually was, he kind of made me mad, but then after I just kept looking at it, it was funny because, come on now, like, come on, that made me sit back like, come on now, he know. But actually, he might have didn't know. So speak on that, though. Speak on that whole. That last video or whatever.
I look at this generation of so-called millennials, and I honestly just have to shake my head because we're all pretty bad. Going back, we've all been under this mind control operation. But some of the answers that these guys gave when I would put very simple questions.
And see, but one thing about you though, Chris, you come up on them. You go up on them. You catch people off guard. You go up on them.
But I do want to make one thing clear. As I said in the video, all these folks are always approaching me. That goes with the Secret Service and the DHS when they harass me, or the police. Like I'm always acting in a lawful manner, and these folks are always, I like to quote the Bible or paraphrase. They come like thieves in the night. They sneak up. They act in a dishonest manner. Mike,
how about when you was on Press TV? And how many times you actually been on Press TV?
I don't know. Probably between Press TV and Al Alam TV, 100 times probably thereabouts. I appreciate the opportunity. When I go on, I many times do videos and film for documentaries at the state capitol in the PBS studio downtown, and just what we talk about is what we talk about in that video, and that's the real levers of power, like the Bank for International Settlements, which is the central bank for all the central banks, through Basel III, which is the vehicle by which they do that right now. It sets the capitalization rates for every country in the world.
Now, Chris, do you mind if we take any live callers that?
I would be happy to.
Some people might want to ask you questions because we're gonna go back to the beginning of everything before, because some people don't understand the banking terms, the central banking system, and so we gonna ladies and gentlemen, let's take some live callers. If y'all want to call in and ask Mr. Chris Dorsey question, it's 804-915-5202. 804-915-5202. So Chris, we can go from the beginning though, man. Like you was talking about how everything is rigged, how everything is like a big lie. Explain that to the viewers out there.
Well, it's a complex subject, but we'll take, for example, the elections. They say the elections are the basis of our government. If folks vote, especially at a place like Richmond, Virginia, where there's criminals at every level, it's even more corrupt than the average city or town. But that's a lot of, because of the location of the Federal Reserve Bank. But in any event, all the elections are completely rigged. For example, it's rigged on the level of, we're told that the FSB, which is Russian military intelligence.
It's rigged because everybody thought Hillary was going to win, though.
Well, I'm saying it's rigged because like everything else, it's based in a computer, and that they backdoor into the computers and they change the votes to make them whatever they want.
It's crazy because when we talk about everything is rigged, like the Simpsons had actually.
Everything's pre-planned, everything's rigged like that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Do we have a caller?
Yep.
We got the first call on the K.Kinte Show. Caller, talk to me. K.Kinte Show, how y'all doing? What's good?
Yes, I'm a long-time viewer, first-time caller. I just called in for some comments to Chris Dorsey.
Okay.
Watching, and the first thing I'm thinking, Chris Dorsey, you look like a cop yourself. You talking like a cop. You out there like a professional paid provocateur. You're out there yelling at people for expressing their First Amendment rights to protest out there, and you were the one acting upset like a fool. So I'm just thinking, where are your motivations? Where do your loyalties lie? Because you're suspect. I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, what's that guy's name? I mean, I just like to, so that's definitely a cop right there. And, I mean, as far as me going out on the street, like I said, those guys approached me. It's my personal belief from experience and knowledge that the guys I was speaking to and about, and I state this to this very day, are federal agents. And this is what I'm saying, and that the guy who called and didn't leave his name and had a whole rehearsed thing, who's a longtime viewer of yours, but a first-time caller, very coincidentally, been on the air for 7 years, just decides that this time is the time to stick up for obvious federal agents. So they want us to name more federal agents on the air, Christopher Goad, like Phil Lelato, or individuals like, who else was, I mean, everybody in the Occupy movement was, Bill Nelson. I mean, what were some of the other guys that were out there? I mean, we can keep going, but, call back, caller, and we can have a long debate, but it seems like that guy was, just very quick to get off the phone after he had just diarrheaed out his pre-planned statement.
You actually pissed some people off out there, Chris. Like,
hey,
wow.
Come talk to me. Hey, why don't you can come down to the studio and we can actually put you right there. Anytime, caller, you'd like to come and sit right next to me or meet anywhere. I carry a video camera with me everywhere I go, as most of you know. We can do an impromptu video and I'll make you a YouTube star. So that's my response to that guy, because I mean that guy is obviously, give me a break. Hey, I've been accused and mistaken for a gang leader in Gilpin Court, but never a cop.
What, a gang leader in Gilpin Court?
Yeah.
Jackson Ward?
Yeah, of course.
What?
It's a long story, but yeah, thanks to one of my associates, Robert Reagan, who was actually a gang leader in Gilpin Court.
My thing is though, this Chris though, is like, man, I know you don't care how you piss people off. I know you really don't. You know what I'm saying? Because you are for the truth and what's right in your eyesight. Like, or explain yourself to the viewers out there, man. I mean,
Well, I mean, I'm pretty transparent about everything. The problem is not me, keeping anybody from doing or saying anything. The problem is Google ripping my channels down of Facebook, deciding when I get too close to the truth and exposing these fake shootings. I mean, like I said, I mean, when I'm interviewed about these things, I'm on government property. When I'm saying Terry McCall, in the PBS studio on international TV, I doubt that guy, in his capacity as a cop, the caller who didn't leave his name, would be able to, spend 5 minutes debating with me on one of the, news programs that I appear on. I have inform myself.
I've seen so many press TV debates and different things. You do. I seen.
So basically, it's the truth, and basically, no matter how smart or how powerful the individual that I'm debating is, they can't argue with the truth. These things aren't my opinion; they're not my personal beliefs. I'm throwing those out the window. And when you see somebody come at me and at anger, you're looking at either a handler, a federal government mind control operator, or a victim of one that is such a gleeful slave that their Stockholm syndrome has turned them insane. So, basically what I'm saying is, you have the power. I'm not saying I have the power. We just discussed the fact that one or two people, knowing the law and understanding and comprehending, God's natural creation and even how the government is supposed to function, how it was written, what the people who wrote it were thinking when they wrote it. Now,
I just want to ask you this though, from my opinion. Do you ever see a government? You ever see this being abolished? In our lifetime, do you see it?
But I see it because that's what I work for. But I want to read you the law. This is from the law. Government is or ought to be instituted for the common benefit, protection, and security of the people, nation, or community, of all various modes and forms of government. That is best which is capable of producing the greatest degree of happiness and safety, and is the most effectually secured against the dangers of maladministration. And that when any government shall be found inadequate or contrary to these purposes, a majority of the community has an indubitable, inalienable, and indefeasible right to reform, alter, or abolish it in such manner as shall be judged most conducive to the public weal. That's the law. So the law says it's my duty to fight against a criminal and corrupt government.
Like when you said on, I want to say on season 2, when you were talking about like mass incarceration. We were talking about that, and like you said, like you was actually running for sheriff at the time.
Right.
And you said you said if I be sheriff, I'm not gonna criminalize a guy for just having a joint or whatever. Like explain, like when you was talking about, and that falls in the category of mass incarceration and different things over.
Okay, so if we create government, how can a government, control what we put in our body, especially if it's something like cannabis, which is the most ancient and greatest medicine, not for everything, obviously, but as far as being all-encompassing medicine, good for almost everything, bad in almost no ways, and I would say it's probably best not to smoke and rather consume cannabis in other manners. But it's medicine
for glaucoma for older patients and
more all these things like that, and we couldn't even name a fraction in the time we had left of the benefits of that. But in any event, and the government says that they can lock you up in a cage and put these steroided out psychopaths in costumes that call themselves cops. Basically, this document says, again, and when I'm reading this is all Virginia Constitution. Okay, this is Article 1, Section 2. All power is vested and consequently derived from the people, that magistrates are their trustees and servants, and at all times amenable to them. So when you see, I don't know how much more obvious we have to get. This is not our rules either. This is the Constitution. I'm not subject to that. We create it. The people ordain it. It says that at the beginning of the Constitution. We're people and we ordain that. I'm not a person. I'm not a citizen. I'm a man, and God creates man and man creates government. So what's the hierarchy there? Are we supposed to be slaves to this system? Am I supposed to not say when folks are obviously participating in a government staged event and not doing what they're supposed to do and acting ridiculous? I feel it's my duty because that's what the law says. And, it's based on the Bible, and I'm a Bible believer because I've seen a lot of other things.
So what do you think about King James writing the Bible then? Like far as
that's the one I abide by. That's because this, the law says.
I'm just saying, like, because King James was the slave master at different things. So, that's why I'm saying, like, far as with him writing the Bible, that was to control slaves too. Not only just black, but this control to be a debt slave too. So do we have a call in? Call back. I know we're getting into
right. Okay, so just getting into the question about King James and the King James version of the Bible.
I mean, because I'm saying that, far as with, taking that Bible back into slavery, like far as with my people, like that was used on us heavily.
Right, but as we stated before, it was used against everyone heavily, and you're right. And also, as we established before, black people used it heavily against other, enslaved individuals.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that's the basis of the law. So we live in a society, that's the basis of the law. And if you read that, and it wasn't King James who wrote that, he was the King of England, and he gathered a bunch of experts on certain subjects. So, I'm certain, judging from history, that King James was a learned individual, but what I'm saying is, he really did not write that himself. This was the tweaking of a document, but why I like that book is because it's the basis of the law, and everything the government does, everything our enemies do is against the law, and it's the law that they swear an oath to uphold. So by their own rules in every sort of way, except for what we know is that every government official and every high-ranking government official is involved in a child rape network, and they're all compromised through these child rape networks, and in most cases they're Satanists, and they sacrifice children, and in case anybody really wishes to
K.Kinte Show, call or talk to me.
I'm just gonna ask your guest, what in the fuck are you talking about? Like, you're talking about following the Bible, which are on Press TV, which is part of a Muslim theocracy, and then, you're so confused about King James, what you were just talking about, you have no idea. You are the clear example of what a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Let me tell you, my name is Chad Ingalls. I'm a citizen here in Richmond.
Come on down to the studio, Chad.
I want you to know who I am. Because you are clearly some kind of agent paid to come out with some madness and people.
Well, okay.
You have no idea what you're talking about. And you wonder why.
Please correct me. Please correct me. Caller, please correct me. Please correct me. I don't know what to say about that, but Chad Ingalls.
Me personally, if I don't agree with a person, I don't care. That's just me. I might don't agree with some of your views. I'm not mad at you because it's your view. It's your view. I'm just saying though, as far as we're human beings and how we get.
I think we've got a short period of time left.
Yeah, we got 5 on the show. We got 5. This been a crazy show. This has been a crazy show. Let's go, Chris Dorsey.
I don't want to be going out on a limb. Okay,
yeah.
So I know for a fact what I'm saying is it's not opinion; it's verified fact. So ad hominem attacks, they may annoy me for wasting time. Time is the most precious thing that we as human beings have. But besides that, nothing I'm saying is incorrect. The Bank for International Settlements controls all the governments of the world. We're all slaves to this slave system. If you're satisfied with your life of watching, homosexual activity that folks call football, or listening to garbage, repetitive, mind-numbing music, and being a slave to a, sinister boss then be my guest.
But now I understand what you're saying. But some people, that's all they know they have to get up and work though too. Like some people don't want to do it though, Chris. They don't want to do it. Some people don't want to. We don't want to be a slave though either.
Yeah.
So
I don't wish to be a slave. I don't want for anything because God provides man everything that they could want. But what I wish, that's different. What I wish is to abolish this system. I mean, if everyone did something instead of everyone doing nothing, then the system would collapse in a matter of days. But instead, we have individuals with Stockholm syndrome. That's not my problem. My problem is not getting, having people lash out at me because I'm exposing and saying like, hey, look, you can be free in your mind and in your soul, but you choose to be a slave and serve the devil. And when I say the devil, I'm talking about the adversary, somebody who is adversarial to you on a spiritual and a biological level. So,
but one thing I can say, Chris, you is like, I can say this, everywhere you go, you piss somebody off, though. He lied. You piss somebody off everywhere you go. Like
the military and the Jewish mob is omnipresent, and they have what they do is they compromise people. And what that guy, what he was getting ready to cut me off from saying, was talking about this child pedophile network. Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Jeffrey Epstein. There's this sex slave island that's run by Jeffrey Epstein, and he has a sex slave, and this is underage, child sex ring, and he also has a plane, and it's called the Lolita Express. And every individual that you can think of, Kevin Spacey, who's in the news, Chris Tucker, Bill Clinton, Mick Jagger, Sergey Brin, the guy from Google, which is a military operation. Google. They're all compromised because of this billionaire named Jeffrey Epstein. Also, the governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe.
We got 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna let you just wrap it up with a solution. Instead of we already know about everything, about the government and everything. So what's the solution to the viewers out there?
The solution is that any legitimate political movement must be to abolish this criminal government. And nothing else is worth any time. And if you want to keep being a slave, keep going along with the system. Keep sending your children to these schools. Keep allowing them to put poison in their arm. But what I'm saying is that there are millions, and we don't even need as many as we have now, and it's not going to take all of us to push this through. It's always only a few people who move and change the the staging of how everything on the planet works. And what I'm saying, to be precise, is that the people must come together and require. You see, we can't request anything to the government because we're above the government. We make requirements to the government. And what we're doing right now on television is we're requiring the lawful punishment for all government officials. This is our court. We have jurisdiction here. We're the people above the government, and we call for the lawful punishment for treason. For treason, that's war against the people, for all government officials and all millionaires and billionaires. And we call for their arrest, and the punishment for treason after they're convicted, they've already been convicted, is what? What's the punishment for treason?
We're going to get ready to wrap this up.
It's a capital crime. So that goes for every bar association attorney and every government official that's out there.
So, Chris, let people know, we can get ready to wrap it up. Let them know where they can follow you at with Press TV and some of the things that
Get my book. It's called The Militia Handbook. All the questions are answered there, and it's irrefutable and indisputable. Chris-Dorsey.com. Follow me on Facebook and Twitter. Chris Dorsey.
We will wrap this up. This has been a powerful show. Ladies and gentlemen, check me out next week. We will wrap this one up.